his eyes, and it filled me with pride that he knew who I was. I didn't acknowledge his presence because it was a white audience, and I didn't want to start a panic. But I did my show. Show went great. I said, good night, everyone. They all said, yay! And I didn't say nothing to OJ, but I just gave him a signal, let him know I knew he was good. And I walked into the green room, and OJ was already in there. I was like, how the fuck is this possible? I was scared. Then my friends came in, and we all started talking. We sat down on the couch, and I'm just telling you what I saw with my own eyes. You can believe me or not believe me. But in my experience, O.J. Simpson, one of the nicest men I'd ever met. He was nice to me. He was nice to my friends.
I think I am done.
The conversation was filled with warmth and levity, humor, and wisdom. We talked for 90 minutes, and then suddenly the Juice said, you know what? I've got to be going. But it's good to see you again, and I'm glad things went so well. I said, thanks, Juice. And my friend said, yeah, goodbye, Mr. Juice. They're new to the game. He said, no, thank you for your hospitality. Good night, guys. And we said, good night. And he just walked out of the room. And as soon as the door closed, we all looked at each other like, that nigga did that shit. I could feel like murder in the room. Well, you young heads missed that shit. You all too young, you don't remember that. How old are you, young man? You. 24, you don't know shit. You don't know shit. You gotta Google shit that I lived through. See, this is why I lock motherfuckers' phones up. Seriously. Because the young kids, you guys, look, you need to take a break from that. We all need to break just from that technology, just for a minute. You know, I'm from a different time, young man, a dark time to you. I'm from a time that I didn't even used to know who was on the phone until I answered the shit. Like when tragedy used to strike. I remember I was 12 years old and the teacher wheeled a television set into the classroom. You remember these days? And she turned it on to one of 3 channels. And she said, class, the space shuttle is taking off and we're all gonna watch it take off. Man, that shit was going great for like 3 to 5 minutes. That's right, you remember, it fucking exploded. Right on television, everybody on board, dead, immediately presumed dead. It was so bad, the teacher looked at all the kids and was like, you can go home. It's a goddamn national tragedy. This was Cold War America. The Russians were laughing at us. My point is, for a guy your age wouldn't even know the pain because in your generation, it's like the space shuttle blows up every fucking day. How can you care about anything when you know every goddamn thing? I'm getting over one cop shooting, and then another one happens, and then another one happens, and another one happens. I'm crying about Paris, and then Brussels happens. I can't keep track of all this shit, so you just give the fuck up. That's the hallmark of your generation, and that's fucked up because your generation lives in the most difficult time in human history. This is the age of spin, the age where nobody knows what the fuck they're even looking at. Did you know that Planned Parenthood was for abortions? It's for people that don't plan things out at all. That's right. So a guy your age doesn't really know how he feels. Are you pro-choice? Are you anti-consequences? What does it all really mean? It's easier not to care for you, but for us, we were trained to care. We were raised that way. I used to watch a fucking cartoon when I was growing up called the Care Bears. It was about a fucking group of teddy bear people. They were like teddy bears, but they were like people, and they were all different colors, and they all fucking just walked around caring. that cared about each other and everything else. They all had different designs on their stomachs, and the designs told you something about what they might be like inside. Very, very loving group of beings. And when shit got real bad, as nice as those teddy bears were, they didn't get mean faces, they got determined. And the leader would say, "Come on, guys, it's time for the Care Bear Stare." Remember that shit? And them little teddy bears would lock arms and stare at the problem. And I'm not even bullshitting. Actual love would shoot out of their chest and would dispel anything that was fucked up. And when we grew up, we wanted to be like those bears. And then we got our hearts broken. So we found out that life wasn't gonna let us do that. And that it's impossible to shoot love out of your chest. However, I have shot love onto somebody's chest before. I do it all the time. It's the next best thing. Oh yeah, you kids don't know. Your generation is just determined to be angry, mad. Everybody's mad. Back when we were growing up, only black people were mad. Now, everybody's just trying to get in on the act. I try to think to myself, well, when did everyone get mad? And then I realized this happened before we were born. This is a long way to go, but probably started in the Second World War. Think about it. All these black men, millions of black men, leave the United States for the first time, go over to Europe with America's armed forces and fight the Nazis and make more money fighting Nazis than they ever dreamed they would make in the United States. And a lot of those men, while they were in Europe, just to be real, not to be crass, a lot of them probably got their dick sucked by white men. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this was World War II Europe, and these were desperate times, and penises were being sucked for shoelaces and chocolate and very frivolous things. And it's very hard to come back to America and sit on the back of the bus after you've been in the south of France getting your dick sucked for a Crunch bar or some crazy shit like that. That's a life-changing experience. And while that was happening in Europe, here in America, for the first time, women entered the workforce en masse by the millions. All the men were gone. Someone had to run the factory. The ladies did it. That's right. This was the first generation of American women to have independent income en masse. And when the men came back, the women weren't the same. American women had grown. They were uttering phrases that no woman on earth had ever spoken before. Things like no and shut the fuck up and I don't feel like it. And then behind the scenes of that, there was a little-known government agency that started testing mind-controlled drugs on the American public. They fucked up. They tested it for 12 years. They didn't realize these drugs were not mind-controlling. They were mind-expanding. It was LSD and mescaline and shit like that. And for the first time, there was a new school of thought that was chemically induced that made people question the very society they lived in. By 1960, the President of the United States was only 42 years old. Can you imagine? DMX is older than that. And he was going to usher in a new era of peace. He was going to avoid the Cold War. He was going to end segregation. And they blew his fucking brains out in front of everyone in Dallas. This country
I think I am done for the day.